Barbara Borden, the Chief Steward for Kentucky. Neil Curtis, Senior Counsel for Churchill Downs Incorporated. Joe Quinn, Senior Counsel for Churchill Downs Incorporated. And conducting the draw at the table to my left, your right, is Ben Huffman, the Vice President of Racing for Churchill Downs, and Dan Bork, the Assistant Racing Secretary and Stakes Coordinator for Churchill Downs. They will draw both races today. We'll start with the Oaks. We'll draw 7, take a break, and draw the next 7 for the Oaks first, and then we'll do the Derby after that. So with no further ado, gentlemen, let's do it.
Okay, Dan, put in 14. We do have 3 also eligibles in the Kentucky Oaks at overfilled. Also eligible 15 is going to be taxed with Rafael Bejarano. Also eligible 16 is Julia Shining with Luis Saez. Also eligible 17 is Hoosier Filly Edgar Morales. Here we go, Kentucky Oaks.
Number 5.
5 is Wonder Wheel, Joel Rosario.
Number 5, Wonder Wheel. Last year's champion filly had a bit of a clunker in the Ashland, to which Mark Cassey said he was dumbfounded she didn't run better and just said it wasn't her day, but she's been training very well since. Wonder Wheel's also 2 for 2 here at Churchill. She won her maiden race here last year. Number 5, Wonder Wheel.
Number 7.
7 is Wet Paint, Flavian Pratt.
Number 7, Wet Paint, lost her debut on turf by more than 7 lengths last year, so it's kind of hard to imagine her being one of the favorites for this year's Oaks, but since then she's done very little wrong with 4 wins from 5 starts. She likes to come from off the pace, and jockey Flavian Pratt said when riding horses like this, he likes to sense the pace, identify the primary competition, and get a feel for how much horse he has left before making his move, which he will do on number 7, Wet Paint.
Number 2.
2, the Alley's Look, Javier Castellano.
Number 2, the Alice Look with Javier Castellano. Since breaking her maiden at Fairgrounds in December, the Alice Look has never been worse than 3rd. She has earned nearly $200,000 despite being purchased for just $60,000 at Keeneland September. The Alice Look, number 2.
Number 11.
11, Defining Purpose, Brian Hernandez.
Number 11, Defining Purpose, broke her maiden here at Churchill Downs last fall before wintering in Arkansas. Her return to Kentucky yielded a 20-1 upset win in the Ashland. Kenny McPeak is a 3-time runner-up in the Oaks, and he's using Brian Hernandez. They've had a lot of success together. He says that Brian's a rider that never has any silly excuses. When he goes elsewhere, he usually comes back, the consummate professional, a family man, and always ends up back with him. And he will do so with Defining Purpose, number 11.
Number 4.
4, South Lawn, Ray Lou Gutierrez.
Trainer Norm Cassidy, who trains South Lawn, grew up 20 minutes down I-65 in Bullitt County. This is his first Oaks starter. He'll be joined on Saturday by more than 20 members of his family. He said this week, and I quote, "I'm running out of reasons why she can't win." South Lawn's owner, Robert Masterson, also campaign champion turf mare, Tepin. That's South Lawn, number 4.
Number 14.
14, Pretty Mischievous, Tyler Gaffalione.
Number 14, Pretty Mischievous, will be wearing blinkers for the Oaks. Make note of that. The divisional leader for much of the spring until a disappointing runner-up finish last time out to Oaks rival South Lawn. Brendan Walsh didn't think the race set up that well for her, but she's coming into this Oaks in great shape, and that they're going to add the blinkers to help her focus a little bit better. That's Pretty Mischievous, number 14.
Number 9.
9, And Tell Me No Lies, Ramon Vasquez.
Number 9, And Tell Me No Lies, first Oaks starter for Peter Miller. The leading West Coast 2-year-old filly last year hasn't won since October. She's one of 2 daughters of Airgate in this race. The dam, though, Be Fair, did finish 4th in the 2009 Kentucky Oaks, none other than Rachel Alexandra. Those are the first 7. That's number 9, And Tell Me No Lies. We'll take a brief break and draw the second 7 for the Oaks. And welcome back to Churchill Downs. We get set to draw the final 7 post positions for Friday's Kentucky Oaks. Gentlemen, take us away.
Here we go.
Number 6.
6, Botanical, Chris Landeros.
Number 6, Botanical, is a starter for 2 times Kentucky Oaks winning trainer Brad Cox. Of course, her big question, as just was said, is whether or not she can handle the dirt. And Chris Landeros, the rider, said that grass horses can take you and you feed them some line and they spin their wheels. But with her, she doesn't spin. He paused and then said, but a work and a race are different things. We'll see for number 6, Botanical.
Number 8.
8, Promise Her America, Jorge Vargas Jr.
Number 8, Promiser America, one of several horses who entered the Oaks scene with upset victories in the final round of preps. Trainer Ray Handel always believed the key for her was more distance, even if the Oaks seemed like a long shot. He said he's got her as good as he could have her, and he's not nervous yet, but when he throw the saddle on, he said he'll feel the nerves on Promiser America. Number 8.
13.
13, Affirmative Lady, John Velasquez.
Number 13, Affirmative Lady, the Gulfstream Park Oaks winner, is owned by Ammo Racing and Kia Horabshian, who's been involved in racing overseas, but recently stepped up his involvement here in America. He said they had purchased Affirmative Lady when her sire Arrogate wasn't really that fashionable, but he loved her from the word go, as did trainer Graham Motion. And when asked about running in the Oaks, he said it's a dream, really. And that's 13, Affirmative Lady.
Number 12.
12, Dorth Vader, Luis Saez.
Dorth Vader is trained by Florida-based Michael Yates and is also owned by John Ropes of Florida, who has, he was telling me that he has a significant other of 7 years who sort of mentioned that, you know, you name all these horses after all your other family members, what about me? And so he said, all right. And so they decided on something to do with, obviously, Dorothy, which is her name, and they settled on Dorth Vader. And he said the next to come, the sibling of this horse, is going to follow the Star Wars theme. So Dorth Vader in the Kentucky Oaks as post number 12.
Number 10.
10, Flying Connection, Florent Giroux.
Number 10, Flying Connection, is owned by a group whose home track is in Sunland Park in New Mexico, and that's where this daughter of Nyquist qualified for the Oaks. In all 4 of her victories, she showed plenty of speed, figures to be a pace factor for sure, and she will be piloted by a 2-time Oak winner in Florent Giroux.
Number 1.
1, Mimi Kashushi, Mikhail Barcelona.
Mimi Kikuchi, making her first start in America, has won 3 races in a row, but hasn't started since February. Her sire, City of Light, won the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile right here at Churchill Downs back in 2018, part of his first crop at stud. Mimi Kikuchi from the rail, number 1.
And number 3.
3 is Gambling Girl, Irad Ortiz.
And number 3, Gambling Girl with Arad Ortiz, a New York bred that's yet to beat Open Company, but did come within a half a length last time after rallying from last. She's going to be reunited with Arad Ortiz, who rode her in both of her victories. And trainer Todd Pletcher knows the Kentucky Oaks quite well. If he wins another, he's got 4. That would put him in a tie for most ever. That is Gambling Girl number 3. So those are the first 7. We'll take a brief break, get the morning line odds for you, and then we'll come back and keep the show going.
to reveal the morning line Oaks, morning line for the Kentucky Oaks.
And welcome back, everyone, to Churchill Downs for the reading of the morning line odds for the Oaks. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. Note that jockey Luis Saez, his first preference for the Oaks will be Julia Shining, who's also eligible number 16. So Luis Saez' first preference is Julia Shining. Second preference will be Darth Vader. And here are the morning line odds for this year's Kentucky Oaks. And I'll read them in alphabetical order for those of us with draw sheets here in the room. And here we go. Affirmative Lady at 10-1. And Tell Me No Lies from post 9 is 15-1. Botanical number 6 is 4-1. Defining Purpose number 11, 12-1. Darth Vader number 12 at 20-1. Flying Connection number 10 is 15. As is number 3 Gambling Girl, 15-1. Number 1 Mimi Kakushi, 20. 14 Pretty Mischievous, 10-1. Number 8, Promise Her America, 30-1. Number 4, Southlawn, 8-1. Number 2, The Alice Look, 15-1. The Morning Line Favorite, number 7, Wet Paint at 5-2. Number 5, Wonder Wheel, 12-1. 15, Text at 20. 16, Julia Shining at 15-1. And number 17, Hoosier Philly at 30-1. So once again, Wet Paint, number 7, the morning line favorite for the Kentucky Oaks at 5-2. Take a brief break, send it back over to Joe and Shap as we get situated with the cards and the pills to draw the Kentucky Derby up next. Be right back. All right, Steve Buttleman with the call to post. We get set to draw the 149th Kentucky Derby. Same process applies. Ben with a card and Dan Bork with a pill. And we will do the first 10, take a brief break, and do the second 10 after that for the Kentucky Derby. A couple of quick housekeeping notes. Rocket Can, Sun Thunder, both with blinkers on for the Kentucky Derby. And Ben has a few also eligibles as well.
Okay, the Kentucky Derby, we had 23 enter this morning, so there's going to be 20 runners with 3 also eligibles. They are Cyclone Mischief, also eligible 21 with Rosario. AE 22 is Mandarin Hero, Kazushi Kimura. AE 23, King Russell, Rafael Bejarano. Dan put in 20 pills. Here we go.
Number 15.
15, Forte, Irad Ortiz.
Well, there we go. A little drama right out of the way. Forte. The team of Forte has 13 Eclipse Awards between them, 8 for Todd Pletcher, 4 for Irad Ortiz Jr., and of course 1 for Forte, the defending two-year-old champion last year. 21 of 80 Kentucky Derby starters that were champions in the two-year-old year went on to win. When Mage went past Forte in the Florida Derby, Irad said he jumped back into the bid on him nicely, and he knew there was a lot of racing left, so he took his time, and Forte kept coming. He said Forte's biggest asset is his willingness to win, his ability, but most importantly, his mind, of which you'll need all of them on Saturday from post 15 Forte in the Derby.
Number 18.
18, Rocket Can, Junior Alvarado.
Rocket Can broke his maiden on our Stars of Tomorrow card right here at Churchill Downs before running second later in the meet to fellow Derby rival Confidence Game. After winning the Holy Boat earlier this year, he ascended up the ranks quickly, tailed off a little bit lately. Bill Mott hopes the addition of blinkers will tighten Rocket Can up for the Derby post 18.
Number 2.
2, Verifying, Tyler Gaffalione.
Verifying post number 2, the son of Triple Crown winner Justify is also a half-to champion Midnight Bizu. Sold for $775,000 as a yearling. When the connections felt he had the looks, physicality, and demeanor to match the pedigree, his biggest weapon is his speed, but also his rider. Tyler Gaffalione has won 6 straight riding titles here at Churchill Downs. Number 2, Verifying.
Number 12.
12, Jace's Road, Florent Giroux.
Number 12, Jace's Road for Alba Racing. Mr. Alba's nephew, Reed, helps them name their horses each year and has 3 children, and they started to name some of the horses they run after the kids, the first of which was Brody's Cause, their first Kentucky Derby winner, Jace's Road, another one. But the third name they submitted got rejected. They had to find a new name for it, and ironically, the new name was Angel of Empire, but Jace's Road is number 12 for them in the Derby on Saturday.
Number 8.
8, Mage, Javier Castellano.
Mage, which also means magician or wizard, was named after his sire Good Magic and his Good Magic's dam Glinda the Good from The Wizard of Oz. Mage's eye-catching far turn move in the Florida Derby wasn't quite enough to beat Forte, but it was only his 3rd career start. Gustavo Delgado has 3 Derby starters to his name, and it'll be the 16th for Javier Castellano on Mage, number 8.
17.
17, Derma Sotogake, Christophe Lemaire.
Number 17, Derma Sotogake, of course, comes from Japan via the UAE. UAE Derby winners are 0 for 18 in the Kentucky Derby, though. The best finish was 5th with Master of Hounds in 2021. He did go wire to wire in the UAE Derby, but Derma Sotogake has rated kindly in the past, so he's a little bit more adaptable than it might appear on paper. That's Derma Sotogake, number 17.
Number 16.
16 is Raise Kane, Gerardo Corrales.
Number 16, Raise Kane, burst on the scene with his 7+ length Gotham score earlier this year, where he came from 11th to 14th that day. Keeneland-based Ben Colebrook's first Kentucky Derby starter. He settled his first horse in November 2012. The jockey, Gerardo Corrales, recently finished second in one of the stronger Turfway Park meetings to date. That is Raise Kane.
Number 6.
6, Kings Barnes, Jose Ortiz.
Number 6, Kings Barnes, the only undefeated horse in this year's Derby since 1915. 34 horses have Started in the Derby with a perfect record, 9 exited with that record intact. Jose Ortiz has never ridden Kings Barnes in a race, but got on him before his debut and said he showed a lot of talent, so we started following him ever since. In addition to the workout here, Jose has rewatched all of his replays in preparation for riding number 6 Kings Barnes in the Derby.
Number 14.
14, Angel of Empire, Flavian Pratt.
Number 14, Angel of Empire, figures to be the shortest price of the Brad Cox Quartet in this year's Derby. Turned a lot of heads with a big gallop out in his workout here the other day. He likes to finish his races from off the pace as well. Flavian said the Derby seems open with a lot of horses having similar running style, so he believes to start is going to be really important, and for him, that'll happen in post 14, Angel of Empire.
Number 13.
13, Sun Thunder, Brian Hernandez.
Number 13, Sun Thunder. Trainer Kenny McPeak is adding blinkers in hopes of finding an added dimension for Sun Thunder, who he says has done well despite some paceless races and not so great trips. Like in the Oaks, McPeak calls upon Brian Hernandez Jr. to ride. It will be Brian's 4th mount in the Kentucky Derby with number 13, Sun Thunder. And that wraps up the first 10. We'll take a brief break and draw the pills for the final 10 horses in the Derby. Be back after this. And welcome back to Churchill Downs as we get set to draw the final 10 post positions for the Derby. Just 10 to go. And we'll see what Miss Hannah Edelin, Miss Kentucky 2022, does with these silks for the final 10. So Ben and Dan, shall we?
Okay, here we go.
Number 19.
19 is Lord Miles, Paco Lopez.
Post position 19 for Lord Miles, a homebred for Vexel Racing, and trainer Safi Joseph Jr., who always felt that this horse had some ability, would only seem to run in spots. He felt that the Tampa Bay Derby, though, was a, quote, sneaky good race. And after that, they decided to take one more shot at some points. Points they got, and here they are. That is Lord Miles, number 19.
Number 7.
7, Reincarnate, John Velazquez.
Number 7, Reincarnate, is from runner-up Good Magic, Kentucky Derby runner-up Good Magic's first crop. Started his career with 2 consecutive turf races, but has never finished worse than 3rd in all of his 7 starts. Reincarnate is described as a freckled gray and was named after Gavin Murphy of SF Racing and Bloodstock, said that he reminded him of his colt's maternal grandfather, Holy Bull, and thus he named him Reincarnate right there on the spot. Number 7.
Number 4.
For Confidence Game, James Graham.
Number 4, Confidence Game. Winning Derby horses have averaged 31 days or so since their most recent start of the last 20 years. Confidence Game will be coming in off a 70-day layoff. Only one of 3 horses in this Derby, though, with a win at Churchill Downs, and like others, turned some heads here this morning, or this week with his morning training. He's also versatile. He can come from off the pace, but in the past, he's also shown some speed. So Confidence Game will break from post 4.
Number 9.
9, Skinner, Juan Hernandez.
Number 9, Skinner's come from behind style is similar to that of Giacomo, who John Sheriff's trained back in 2005. Lee Searing and his wife's CRK Stable's 4th Derby starter. Skinner is named after one of Mr. Searing's best salesmen, 86-year-old Don Skinner, who will be here this weekend for the 149th Derby. Congratulations to him. Skinner, number 9.
Number 3.
3, 2 Phils, Jareth Loveberry.
2 Phils, number 3. It's the Derby debut for all of the connections, including jockey Jareth Loveberry, who said he is, and I quote, 90% excited, 7% let's get it over with, 2% nervous, and 1% am I allowed to turn my phone off. He added 2 Phils can be a bit quirky, but is also very responsive, and they've really learned each other, which could come in handy in Saturday's Kentucky Derby. 2 Phils, number 3.
Number 1.
Number 1, Hit Show, Manny Franco.
Number 1, Hit Show, will go unfavored for the first time in his career. Despite a 3-for-5 record, he narrowly lost the Wood Memorial, much like Funnyside did. It was the last to come from the Wood to win the Kentucky Derby. Manny said he has faith in his horse, and when the gates open, he will let him go where he wants, depending on the pace. That is Hit Show, number 1.
Number 5.
5, Tappet Trice, Luis Saez.
Number 5, Tappet Trice, the most expensive horse in this Derby with a price tag of $1.3 million when he was sold at Keeneland September. He showed more positional speed in his Bluegrass win than his win in the Tampa Bay Derby, where he frankly looked like a long shot on the far turn. Jockey Luis Saez, who will ride Tappet Trice, will also stick around and ride the entire meet here at Churchill Downs this spring. That's number 5, Tappet Trice.
Number 20.
20, Continuar, Rausi Sakai.
Number 20, Continuar. Despite being sired by 2016 sprint champion Dreyfong, he actually won his career debut going 9 furlongs and then qualified on the Japan Road to the Kentucky Derby to start in the Derby this weekend. He and Derma Sotogake are the 5th and 6th Japanese-based horses to run in the Kentucky Derby. That's number 20, Continuar.
Number 11.
11 is Disarm, Joel Rosario.
Disarm comes from the same team that was runner-up last year with Epicenter. Both of his runner-up finishes this year, though, have been against the flow of the race, as the winners in both went wire to wire. He needed the points last time and got them in the Lexington, where starters are 3 for 38 in the Derby. Charismatic won it, though, back in 1999.
Number 10.
10, Practical Move, Ramon Vasquez.
Never worse than 3rd in 7 starts. Practical Move brings a 3-race win streak to Kentucky. His prior Practical Joke, known more as a sprint or middle distance horse, but he did finish 5th in the Derby despite breaking from post 19. Trainer Tim Yakteen said both sets of his owners are good sports, and he simply wants to win the Derby for both of them and his stable. He'll get his chance from post number 10 with Practical Move, one of his 2 entrants in Saturday's Derby. That is the 20. We'll send it back to Joe and Shap and Caitlin as we gather in the morning line odds. We'll be back in a moment to report those to you, so sit tight. We'll be right back.